I'm back. I know this video is long overdue and I have just really been procrastinating and just not taking matters seriously to sit down and get this video recorded up. But this video is going to be about me talking about, first of all, what is law school really like? The real tea about law school, the experience as a first semester 1L student, and also a little bit later in the video, how did I do personally in my first semester of law school? Did I meet my expectations? Did I not meet my expectations? What did I do? How did it go? All of that. So if you want to hear about all of that, stay tuned for the rest of the video. End up writing down the topics that I want to discuss in this video in this notebook. My camera, I have yet to find that charger, and it is one of the main reasons why I have not recorded any sit-down content for you guys the entire first semester of law school, because mostly I use my phone, and I was always on my phone, and just to set up my phone and then not be able, it was just too much. But I just decided that, you know what, I'm gonna record from my phone and I'm just gonna buy a new charger for my my camera later on. So let's get started with the video. So I'm gonna start off by giving you guys the tea about law school. Like, what is it really like? How is it set up? How do you really maneuver being fresh in law school, not knowing anything? Or even if you think you know something, coming from a legal background or a legal major, a bachelor's or something like that nature, coming into law school as a first semester 1L student, you don't know anything. You might think you know some things, but realistically you don't know anything. And it's a new learning system that you have to adapt to, and you have to learn your new ways of learning within that system. And when I say that you don't know anything about law school until you get here, that's not me dismissing you guys' experience and what you might have been exposed to before coming to law school. So if you've been a paralegal and you've worked in a law firm before, yes, the practical is definitely going to assist you. But as far as the subject matter and the doctrinal classes, you really are a baby on trainers, and you are trying to figure it out like everybody else within that class, how to study for, these type of exams, what works and what doesn't. So all your previous knowledge as far as, I was a legal studies major or a poli-sci major or whatever it may be, pre-law, this or that, honestly, it doesn't give you an advantage in law school. It's a playing field that's just zeroed out, and it's, go from day one. And yeah, so I'm going to let you guys know how I am going to break down this video by the topics. And also a disclaimer, if you see my eyes wandering, different places, like I said before, I'm recording from my phone, and sometimes it's difficult to remember to focus on, the lens right there. But anyway, so I'm gonna start off by talking about classes. How do you prepare for classes, your everyday routine, class preparation, what it's really like on a day-to-day basis going to law school, involvement in law school as a first semester 1L student, friendships in law school, finals, the big, bad, scary finals as a first semester law student, and then your first break in law school, and then of course rankings and grades. So as I said in the beginning of the video, first I'm going to talk about just the real tea about what the experience is like in general, and then later in the video, if you want to know how I did, I'll disclose some information there too about myself and how I felt within the categories. So first and foremost, classes every day. Your first year of law school, you don't get to choose your classes. The administrators, the registrar's office chooses your classes, chooses your professors. You can't switch out. Maybe if it's some type of, crazy situation going on or something like that, they might be able to grant you a transfer out of your class, which I'll probably talk about later if I remember. That actually did happen at my school, where something crazy happened and someone did get a transfer out of one of our classes. But yeah, generally you don't get any say so. You don't get to pick how early you're going to class and how late you're leaving each day. You're most likely going to have a Monday to Friday schedule, going to classes every day, and all of that is already worked out for you. So during orientation, at least at my school, you are split up into your sections. So we knew our sections because we had a little program that we had to basically interact and stuff like that with our class during orientation, and we were split up into our sections. So before your first day of classes, you should know your assigned section, the number that you're in, and all that good stuff. Maybe your school will allow you, before you get into the semester, to interact with your section, so you'll be able to see those people before, maybe not. So everyday classes, you'll most likely have classes Monday to Friday, or however your register sets up your schedule. You have no say-so in that. What do you do for classes? How does it work? So for example, let's say that on Mondays and Wednesdays, you have Civ Pro, you have Crim Law, and contracts. However many classes, 3 classes a day or 2 classes a day, whatever. But your Monday and Wednesdays are for those classes. How do you prepare? So you will get your reading assignments. Some professors, they will have the entire syllabus, will have your reading assignments already attached to it. Other professors will release your reading assignment as you go. So you'll get your reading assignment though at least a week or the weekend before that class is to come in. If your professor really care about giving you ample amount of time to get their reading done, it will most likely be those professors that will already have their reading assignments in your syllabus from day one. Other professors who are a little bit more, they might give you your reading assignment each week. They'll email you out maybe a day before class or whatever of what your upcoming readings are, but it's usually per week. So you'll meet for those classes twice per week, and then you're responsible to have that content read. So let's say that you get assigned readings of chapter 1 and 2 for week 1 of school. It is in your best interest to read chapter 1 and 2, as much of it as possible in the beginning, because you don't know how far your professor is going to go. So some professors, they might break it off where chapter 1 is done on that Monday when they meet you, and then your second class session on Wednesday will be chapter 2. Some professors, they'll get through as much content as possible, and then they'll go through the remainder on the second time you meet. So reading before class is essential because it prepares you for the big bad cold call in the event that a professor decides to call you on any given day. So in general, you read for class, and then you brief your cases, and then from there you will be prepared for the most part. So I'm going to show you guys later on how I do my briefs and how I take my notes, etc. So also, I should add that you would basically read before class, brief your cases, and then in class you'll take notes. So your professor might be a lecturer style professor where they give you a lot of lecture additional information that they want you to know. So like not legalese, but for example, one of my professor is Professor Brown. He would give you brownies. Brownies is basically the language he uses to teach in his class. So even though the book is going to phrase, the concept or the black letter law a certain way, there's some brownies that you would want to know for your exam taking purposes, exactly what your professor is saying. So for that, you definitely need to pay attention in class and take notes in class as well, if you do take notes while you're reading before class. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So just to wrap up, you would read before your classes, do your brief before your classes, and then you'll take notes during classes. Ideally, after you leave that class, you'll read over your notes, and then you'll start to build your outline and continue going. That's ideally. The real tea. Do people actually do that in law school? No, they don't. Nothing is perfect. The system is not perfect. So, you know what I mean? So next thing I want to talk about is class participation. Class participation for some professors is going to be on a voluntary basis. So the more your class participates, the less chances of you being cold called. The less your class participates, the more chances increase, that you will be cold called. As far as class participation go, before that we were talking about reading and briefing your cases for class. That's how you're prepared for your cold calls or your class participation, if your professor does that. I've heard from another section that they don't really get cold called much. Our section, very heavy on the cold call. Like, our professors, like, there's different methods. So some of the professors, they have cards that we have our names on. They shuffle them every class, and then they'll just pick a name, and Miss Smith, Mr. this, Miss that. That's how you're cold called. Other professors, they do a batter's cage, where you are told in that range that you're going to be up this week and you should be prepared, and then they'll go systematically in that cage and ask questions to the students. Other professors, literally, it's just cold. It's random, however they're feeling that day. They might look at you and feel like you're not prepared and call you out and cold call. I have a professor that's very notorious for that. She definitely looks for students who she feels is not engaged, not paying attention. If you did something to kind of like rub her the wrong way, you're getting cold called. So yeah, the different styles of cold calling may vary between your professors, but generally speaking, the only way for you to be prepared is to read the cases before. Now, with that being said, there's some people who read the cases from the case brief, from the case books, and brief the cases manually from those books. I'm one of those persons. I've been called a nerd for doing so. Yeah, whatever. But you can also use services like Quimby. Quimby is popular in law school. Quimby basically briefs all of the cases for you. I don't think there's a case that is not on Quimby. It's a subscription service, so you will be able to get briefs. You can just download the briefs. It'll basically explain the case to you, break the case down for you, give you the black letter law on the case, and all that good stuff. Depending on the professor that you have, Quimby might just be perfect. Some professors, they're very shell. They want to just get to the meat of everything. What is the black letter law? What does this case signify, etc. Others are very Socratic method heavy in the case. They get very detailed in the case and they want certain things. One of my professor, you have to cite to the record. So her class, Quimby might help you to understand the concept, but you definitely have to read from that case book page to page, because if she asks you a question and you give an answer, she wants you to back it up with information from the record. And when I say information from the record, I'm talking about the textbook. So you'll have to say, oh, this is on page 473, paragraph 3, line 3. Like, you have to recite that information. That's how she ensures that we're prepared for her class and that we're actually reading. So yeah, you can decide to brief your cases yourself the old-fashioned way, as I do. It takes a lot more time, though, I will say, but you do get a better handle of knowing how to locate rules in the book. You get a better handle of how to read, and you get to see like justices' opinions and stuff like that. Quimby saves you a lot of time. Like, honestly, you don't have the time to do all that reading and you just are not up to be spending hours reading the case book. Quimby is your thing. And there's people that I know that do just fine as far as like preparation for class that use Quimby. I don't, and that's just, how that is. Class participation. One of the biggest things I have to say about that, and this video is getting so long, so I feel like I'm gonna have to do a part 2, but know that your reputation starts in law school. Like, the way you interact in class, it really matters. And does class preparation really even matter in the long run of things? The real answer that I would give is that no, no, it depends, which is the popular answer you're gonna get in law school. It depends. It depends on what you want from your legal education and how you want your reputation to be in, your school. And when I say that is, if you have students that are always prepared, it shows that they have a certain level of work ethic. Yes, it doesn't mean that they're the smartest person in the class. And these people are usually gunners. So they'll definitely participate and try to, yes, I read the case. In my opinion, gunners and experience from the semester, gunners are not necessarily the smartest people in the class. They're just the ones that have really good work ethic, and they read those cases. And, you know, I mean, for putting in all that blood, sweat, and tears, somebody's gonna know that I know this information. That's basically a gunner. I'm not a gunner at all, so don't think that I'm a gunner. But I do see that my analysis from everything is that a gunner is just a person with, you know, strong work ethic. They make sure that they read the cases and they want to receive credit from that. Saying all of that, what I would say is that being prepared or not being prepared in class does affect the way that people look at you, because in law school, there's going to be people who obviously look at the gunners and like, oh my God, they're so smart. They're so this, they're so that, they're so engaged because of how much they participate. Now, if you're cold called and you're consistently that student that you can't answer the questions, you don't know what's going on, the subject matter is like, are we in contracts or are we in property type thing? Yeah, that's going to hit your reputation. People talk. And participating in class for the Socratic method is really for your reputation amongst your peers, your reputation amongst, you know, your professors, whether these professors will be able to write you a letter of recommendation later on if you need it. If you're that student that was never prepared or you don't understand the subject matter, yeah, you're gonna definitely put a negative reputation on yourself, and that starts in law school. It doesn't start when you become an attorney. It starts in law school, because these are your peers that's gonna be out there in the field, and if you couldn't get it together in law school, that's probably the first impression that will last. And it's unfortunate because it really doesn't mean that. Some people could just honestly be working smarter and not harder. So they're not really briefing cases and stuff like that, but they're making sure that they know the black letter law. But class participation is big, big, big for your reputation as a student. It shows work ethic, and it shows, you know, what you're able to do, how much you're willing to prepare yourself for, you know, your everyday task at school. Moving right along. Involvement. You're not really allowed to get involved much as a first semester student, 1L. But there are organizations that you can join to just become like a member. There's the bar prep companies that you'll eventually be able to join, but that's going to be in your second semester. Involvement is very light for a first semester 1L student, and I would not advise anyway trying to seek out all the clubs, joining them, and trying to become the head of those. It's not undergrad, so don't go to law school with that mindset, because your focus should most definitely your first semester be on your grades. And that's that. It's not for everybody, but that's the best advice I can give when it comes to involvement. And it will definitely help you to build your resume in the long run. Friendships in law school. Law school is like high school. It's very small, so everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Even if these people are not in your section, you have friends that are in your section that have friends in the other section. So needless to say, information travels really well in law school. Your business, you should definitely try to keep that to yourself. As far as friendship goes, I would advise to just keep it low key and actually observe people. Give it time before you start to open up to people in, you know, like really intimate ways. Naturally, I am not one to disclose too much about myself. I value friendships, so I don't really initiate a lot of friendships. In law school, I had a lot of acquaintances, but very few friends at law school. And there's reasons for that, but you know, my general advice would be to definitely keep it professional with most people, and let those friendships come naturally. You will definitely see who you gravitate to, and you know, just work from there on out. There's people that fall out, they, you know, they're friends first semester, next semester they're not friends. Like we're very small. Law schools are really small. It's a small body of students. Pretty much like a small high school. So relationships and, you know, whether it's platonic or intimate, they have a way of creating some unnecessary stresses and drama that you probably shouldn't be focused on in law school. But anyway, it happens, human interaction. But I would just say, you know, let friendships come naturally, and not everybody's your friend. So don't go telling everybody your business. Really? Yeah, but don't go telling everybody your business and stuff like that. Just, you know, let things play out. I know I'm probably gonna cut some of this because this video is getting really long. Finals, and then I'm gonna talk about break. Finals, you basically want to have your outline finished before reading week. So reading week, you can focus on actually studying. You want to make sure that you're updating your outline throughout the semester. And how do you do that? Honestly, as a first semester 1L student, you really don't know how to do these things well. So just relying solely on your notes is not going to suffice. I would highly recommend, suggest, implore you to use commercial outlines to help you learn the black letter law the correct way. You might not have heard it properly while you were listening to your professor or whatever. You might have interpreted it wrong, but you definitely need assistance from those outlines to learn the proper black letter law. I am going to say, and I don't have the book here, my lord, Barbary. Yeah, I don't have it right here. Barbary is the reason why I, you know, am where I am in law school right now. So I cannot even like plug Barbary enough. I took outlines because at my school they gave out free outlines in the beginning. The bar prep companies were giving it out, so I took from the other companies as well as Barbary, and Barbary has been the one that has assisted me. And you might see some of the other companies like somewhere in the back here. Yeah, I did not use them my first semester. You can check them out though and see if they would work for you. But for me, Barbary was like that thing, like holy grail. Barbary did things that my professors were not doing, you know what I mean? And it's not to say that obviously they don't know the subject matter. These people have been teaching these things for years, but it's just not enough time to actually learn everything that you need to learn in class. So a lot of the work is on your own accord while you're studying. So be prepared for finals, reading week. You should probably want to have your outline finished. And then on your break, your first break in December, take a break. Really unwind, relax, pat yourself on the back for completing your first semester of law school. Big ups to you. It's a big feat because not everybody's going to make it back for the next semester based on those grades. After those grades come out, some people will be taking it home. Like they will not be returning because you are kicked out of law school if you don't maintain a certain GPA within your first semester, your first year. Pretty much. So it's very hard to make it out of your first year of law school. So pat yourself on the back for, you know, killing finals and take a break. Now that I've said all of that, let's talk about how I did.